even before I made this film, I had sort of stopped trusting my own memory as a source of truth.
Welcome. It is wonderful today. I'm very excited to be speaking with David Ketterer Spencer, the writer and director of Souvenir, which premiered also at Dances with Films in June. David, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate this.
Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to talk about the film, pleasure to talk with you.
It was a pleasure to watch it. Honestly, this is a fun film that is somehow a spy movie, but also a very human drama. How do you where did it come from? Where did this unique story originate?
Um, well, the story came from a thing that I found in a used bookstore in New York, where I, live more or less. I found a page of somebody's diary in a book, and it had all these very kind of tantalizing, like half pieces of information about this person's life. It sounded like they were going through a breakup. They were writing about Philadelphia. The stationery was from a hotel in Nairobi, Kenya. Like I just you tried to sort of squint and imagine what this person's life could have been, and I couldn't quite complete the picture. But I thought it was fascinating, so I kept it. This was about 15 years ago. Um, and then fast forward to I'm writing the first couple drafts of this film, which started out as a fairly literal sort of adaptation of an actual memory of a day that I had with a friend that was considerably less kooky. Um, and the actual memory is lovely, but the on the page it was boring. So I put this thing in there. Let's see what happens if Kevin and Danny find this diary page. And then over a couple of drafts, the diary page turned into a wallet, which I felt was a little more visual, more cinematic. And then that gave, birth to the story as we ultimately realized it. Tonally, the kind of mix that you're talking about, uh, started with a film called To Be or Not to Be, which is I will evangelize this movie to anybody because it really rocked my world. It's a screwball comedy, 1942, that takes place in Nazi-occupied Warsaw. And it's 1942, so this is very like political, I mean, the Nazis were actually occupying Warsaw at the time the film came out. They didn't actually shoot it there. They shot it on a Hollywood backlot, but it manages to be both fully a screwball comedy. It's very silly, laugh a minute kind of stuff, and this very dark kind of spy war thriller. And it has its feet firmly in both places at the same time. And it really just blew my mind about what you can do with comedy and how you can bring other influences into it without compromising the comedy tenor. And, it's a strange reference because it's a high budget old Hollywood movie. It's an ensemble piece. There's war going on, and none of those things are true for Souvenir. But it did kind of get my brain thinking about other things you could sort of combine with a traditional comedy or with a screwball comedy form and come up with some new flavors. And what we ended up borrowing from was the sort of one day with two people template that is familiar for a lot of indie films, most conspicuously the Before trilogy. Yeah, everyone brings that up and for good reason. Actually, the closest reference for us in that strain is Barry Jenkins' Medicine for Melancholy, which is another hangout film with two people that are leading very different lives. So we sort of yeah, the all of which is to say the kind of pitch line that I give to film people when I'm talking about it is that Souvenir is like Billy Wilder making a mumblecore film, because that kind of captures both of our main influences in one sentence.
It does. It really does.
I'm glad that you like it. Yeah.
I would not have made that or drawn that line, but yes, no, it absolutely is. There's such humor to it, but at the same time, there's this other world going on in the background that sort of captures these characters in this story that they shouldn't be in. You know what I mean? Which
Hmm.
I love
Yeah.
about it. I would love to chat with you about unreliable narrators
Mm.
because that was another thing about this film. This isn't just a fun story of two people who are rediscovering themselves, if you will, over the course of one night. It seems to be wanting to have a conversation about the stories we tell ourselves. Why was that important, and what do you think it means?
So the the unreliability of the narrative. I mean, first of all, it's a thing that I'm just sort of drawn to. I'm drawn to it in books. I'm drawn to it in movies, and the thesis that Eric's character Kevin is writing is an idea that I had, which I've never been like an English major, right? Like there's never been a point in my life where I could use this, but it is kind of based on this idea that I had, if I were doing a literature PhD, I would do this. And one, you never know it's going to be useful. Like making this film was a great demonstration of that. Um, but I think that even before I made this film, I had sort of stopped trusting my own memory as a source of truth. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you can dispose of it, right? Because you still depend on it. Like there's no setting it aside. But I think that it's worth us recognizing what it is and what it isn't. And what it isn't is a steady record of the things that you witnessed. Um, and our whole legal system is based on the idea that it is, but that's ultimately not at all the case. Um, and I think it's worth. I got interested in that as a conversation about kind of what, given that we're stuck with this flawed system, what do we use it for? And I think the answer to that is that we use it to sort of create ourselves, our identities, like who we are really is kind of determined by how we choose to shape our understanding of what we've seen and what happens to us.
Well, that being said, is there a sense that we're all unreliable narrators as we because this very much says no matter how much no matter how hard you commit to remembering something, you're not going to remember it correctly.
Yeah. Um, I think that that's true. I think that we are unreliable narrators in the sense that you can't take our memories at face value. But what I do think the I do think what we successfully convey when we tell any story about a thing that happened to us is we're telling the person who we are, and sort of how we see the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel the need to ask you, David, if somebody found your wallet, what would they think your life story was?
They would think I don't throw enough things away. My wallet is so overpacked with things I do not need to be keeping, which ultimately comes from the fact that, all of this, sort of philosophical talk about memory aside, I am a very absent-minded person. I tend to forget things, I tend to leave things behind. So if it's a thing I count on having with me, I put it in my wallet. But as a result, there's all these like procrastinated receipts that I need to keep for like tax reasons. I do actually try to keep a little bit of medicine in there in case like I get migraines and I try to keep migraine medicine with me. I carry around like Lactaid for my wife. Um, and there's all of these I keep around um a like a free burrito card from this Tex-Mex place in that's not where I live, but it's in my hometown, and I really love this place, and I always want to like have it with me so that when I go there I could get my free burrito because I know I'm not going to actively think of that. So if somebody found my wallet, they would think that I am a hoarder. Um, and I think there would be some justification in that.
I think it's the burrito thing that amuses me most. I would do the same thing. I would do the same.
Yeah.
I had until recently. I had a card with a video store with the number of stamps on it, and I was too short. but the video store doesn't exist anymore. I think I just kept it because I wanted to remember video stores. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
totally.
It's like, well,
Totally.
what if they come back?
What if this exact business comes back and is willing to honor
Honor.
a like buy 10 get one free
Absolutely.
thing from its
After
previous.
two more.
Honestly, I feel like they should because like if you're that dedicated, they should do that. I don't, who knows, but people are starting to realize the value of physical media. So maybe video stores will come back. I don't know.
There it is. I believe. Um,
Yeah.
but no, honestly, I think, hearing that, I think that speaks to the nature of this story and this I forget the name of the character because they're deceased, the one who owned the wallet.
Phidias.
Um, but I mean, there are all these little threads to a life that's complicated, and we see that in Eric and Ruby's characters as well. Their life is more than one night, but they also they want to hold their secrets to themselves, but they also have this incredible relationship. It's fun to watch. What was it about the two of them that you knew you had your central couple?
So, our biggest kind of creative priority in prep was, and I really feel that the most important creative decision I had to make throughout all of this was how we cast Kevin and Danny. And we, I had a lot of, we've been through a few rounds of auditions. Ruby sort of came in late to the process, and with Ruby, it was. I had originally written Danny, like there's a line in the script that describes her as having golden retriever energy. Like I've really seen her as somebody who like kind of covers her secrets by putting a lot of energy out and like by kind of not entertaining people exactly, but by just being this like very energetic, even bubbly person. And Ruby brought this introspection and a little bit of darkness to Danny
Mm,
that I think is really essential to the character staying sympathetic because Danny does a number of like pretty unlikable things in the script. And it was important to me that even when she's doing things we disapprove of, that we stay sort of on her side. And Ruby brought the uh Ruby brought that darkness in a way that kind of keeps Danny vulnerable, which allows us to sympathize with, okay, you're making some bad choices, but you're not a bad person. And I think that's really crucial to the character. And it's funny to say that because it's not as if Ruby is this like, heavy drama actor. Like she's an extremely funny presence. And I mean, we've seen her in Bottoms, we've seen her in a lot of comedies, and she always carries it well. But she's also a really, really intelligent actor, and so knew that the character kind of needed that vulnerability in order to stay accessible. And meanwhile, with Eric, it was almost the reverse
mm,
because, Kevin is a character who takes himself pretty seriously and is awkward and struggles with confidence. Things that make it hard to pick a leading man, honestly,
mm.
because we have to want to spend time with somebody who has difficulty spending time with himself. Um, but Eric's, we saw a lot of really fine actors, but Eric's distinguishing sort of instinct was he could keep it funny, he could keep it light, he could make it so that we can continue to laugh with him or sometimes maybe at Kevin. And it's finding that control. I described it. I still think of it as a kind of young Jimmy Stewart energy.
Mm.
He's kind of gangly and physical, and actually has a lot of control over his body, but can kind of make it look like he's awkward. And I think he really brought that sensibility. So, um, the sort of more energetic person brought some darkness, and the less energetic person brought some lightness, and I think that mix plays very well in the film and brought things out of the characters that I didn't know they needed.
Well, absolutely. I love the way you're describing it because that's how it feels. Like these are two characters that the performers give them life, and but I said there's incredible trust between them. They play well off of each other, and they're fun to watch. It's a blast. The film is so much fun. Um, I see it's approaching 4:15 for us, which I say metaphorically, not literally. but we're starting to run out of time. What do you hope people take away from Souvenir, and where can they see the film?
So we are taking the second question first. We are in our festival run right now. So keep an eye on our social media. We are Watch Souvenir on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll be letting people know about our next festival presence there. And eventually our distribution and everything will be announced there. And we'll have we'll put the movie in a place that people can come to it and see it. Because we really are excited to share it with everybody. What I hope people take away from it, I mean, it's not some, I want people to, first of all, be entertained. It's not like this abrasive or difficult thing. It's meant to go down easy. So I hope people are entertained and moved. I hope people laugh. But I hope they're still thinking about it a couple days later, and I hope that they use it as an opportunity to examine their own memories that they count on as kind of foundational, and maybe start to question where their idea of that story came from and what it's meant to them at different points over their lives and how it might have changed.
I love that because I think that speaks to the film, as this is something that you can connect with at different times, on different viewings at different stages of your life, you know. So, thank you for playing up to 25 with me, David. I really do appreciate it.
I
Uh,
appreciate all the references that you've threaded into this, and for anyone watching, see the film and then come back to this, and you'll see
if
the
you know,
the
you
work
know.
that's being done here.
Thanks so much, David. I really appreciate the chance to have you. Have a great day.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Bye bye.